Still to come, whistleblower bombshell.
Us to be afraid to raise those concerns with the government because we fear a knock on the door from the FBI is unconscionable.
This morning, the Department of Justice accused of targeting parents, the back and forth battle over the latest crisis in the classroom. Growing calls for the Department of Justice to stand down when it comes to getting involved in cases of threats against teachers and school officials. The DOJ has said they will only intervene when violence is threatened, but two lawmakers say they have new proof that's not always the case. The National Desk's Christine Frizzell reports.
Everyone, please have some order. The issue of parents frustrated with America's schools now back in the spotlight. Congressman Jim Jordan and Mike Johnson say they have new evidence the FBI may have targeted some parents. In a letter citing whistleblowers inside the FBI who allegedly told them federal law enforcement is using counterterrorism resources to investigate protected First Amendment activity.
I am disgusted by your bigotry.
Some top complaints from parents, the teaching of so-called critical race theory and former mask mandates in schools.
For us to be afraid to raise those concerns with the government because we fear a knock on the door from the FBI is unconscionable.
Concerns were raised late last year after a Justice Department memo was released promising to address violent threats against school officials and teachers. Shortly after, another letter from the National School Board Association comparing the threats and acts of violence to domestic terrorism, a classification for which Attorney General AG Garland was asked to respond.
I can't imagine any circumstance in which the Patriot Act would be used in the circumstances of parents complaining about their children, nor can I imagine a circumstance where they would be labeled as domestic terrorism.
Congressman Mike Johnson says a whistleblower has told him otherwise.
One, for example, is a mother who told the school board members that we're coming for you. Of course, she was talking about in the electoral process, and they labeled her, and they said in the file, quote, that she was a gun owner.
We know who you are. No more math.
But concerns about violence are not unwarranted. In the height of the pandemic, teachers and school officials were, in fact, targeted. But federal officials, including those at the very top, say it's not about angry words, but real threats of violence, in which case they argue they do have a role to play.
This is not about what happens inside school board meetings. It's only about threats of violence and violence aimed at school officials, school employees, and teachers.
It is the Biden administration's response to those threats that continue to cause controversy and fear. In Washington, I'm Christine Frizzell.